we are very lucky and happy to have one of our co-founders and his project PI here, Juhani and David, please come here. You can have these.
We can stand.
Chairs and we can stand. We have few questions. You haven't heard those beforehand, no. And I'm trying to figure out them now. So this is not prepared. So these are fair answers. So Juhani, first, how did you feel with the process in the first call?
Yeah, it was actually pretty smooth, and of course this is also depending on how lucky you are to find. I opened 3 different projects, and I hope that at least one I could find. And what happened actually that during the call period, I was an opponent in Gothenburg, and I was opposing him. then in the banquet dinner, I mentioned that we are now having this call open. So that was actually what happened. So it seems to sounding like a random thing, but it is like this, that because making an open call and asking the people to apply, very seldom you get like a randomly people in a, what is the awareness of this call? I mean, people don't know. And I think the last time it was a very short period to let the surrounding and all the different teams in Europe, for example, to be aware of this. So I was very lucky, to be honest, to find him, and he immediately volunteered to apply.
Great. And then, as I already mentioned, all the networks we have, those are the main thing to use, as we heard from this example. And my first question for David was planned to be, how did you find out about this? But we heard a bit of that. But then how went your thinking process, whether to come to Finland, and how did you find the application process? Because this is not the most usual way to have applications and things like that.
I have to rewind a little bit, because to give the background, in choosing actually an opponent, which is not an easy task in Sweden, since there are very strict rules for, for some kind of the bias, or you mustn't be partial by any means, according to the Swedish rules. So it's difficult to find an opponent. And in finding an opponent, I think you have to be a little bit strategic, because it's an opportunity to show what you've been doing, what your interests and what capabilities are. And
it's a bit of work interview.
Yeah,
if you arrange it like that.
To view it like that, because it's a unique opportunity. And for the kind of research I was doing and the research environment in Sweden, this cooperation with Turku, I think, fits perfectly. It was a perfect fit already beforehand. So I had a little bit of a second thought when suggesting actually that you might be my opponent to my professor in Gothenburg. And he was also immediately positive about these thoughts. And then, of course, it was exactly as you said. I didn't know of the SYS-LIFE program, and it was a very tight schedule. I think we had 3 days until deadline.
Yeah, so you had very tight.
So I got to know about it at about, what could it have been? Midnight, maybe.
Yeah.
And the next day, I think 9:30, I was sitting writing the application.
Yeah, and then, so for all, it wasn't that tight. There was a bit more time, but for kind of your schedule was like that. And this time is better, because last time we struggled to get kind of the final papers with the EU ready for the grant agreement. So we weren't able to start anything sooner than what happened. And then we needed to have call closed by mid of January so that we could make the selections before summertime, because in July nothing happens here.
We didn't want to make changes to the grant agreement because that would have been like a major delay.
Yeah. But as said, this time things are better. So there is not huge amount of time this time, but there is more time. And then we have, for our last call, we have websites and others ready. So it's easier also for the groups here to kind of know what's happening, because last time it was a bit of a black box for the groups, I think, because it started from a scratch, but still we are very happy that we got you here and then other great researchers. Then concerning the kind of the review process and others, what do you think about the reviews you got?
Constructive, I think, and a little bit what I expected, honestly, since I had rather short notice and didn't have the time to prepare maybe 100% as I would have liked to, but no, I think they were fair.
Yeah.
In their assessment.
Yeah, because as told, there was, I can't remember which researchers, but there was a lot of spread between the views of the reviewers, but I think that's also must be partly because I think everybody had a bit of a rush to make those applications. So it's something like that, certainly. So Juhani, what do you think for other group leaders? What would be your advices on how to try to attract applicants?
Yeah, what I did the previous fall already, before I met him, was that every meeting I visited, I showed the slide. Yeah. And I got many places like after the session, some question about this program. But I think in most of the situation there was too short period, that it was too tight. Yeah. So that was the main obstacle, in my opinion. There were a lot of interest and I tried to focus on the European and Northern European countries mostly, because I know that's more easy to move. Yeah. But I think this time it must be better now, because you have, you have still like now quite a much time even today. Yeah. To find, but I think the rational way to work with the co-fund would be that you look all your networks and try to ask if there is anyone which would fit this project. And the problem sometimes is that the site have a lot of these like doctoral students which are finishing their thesis, but they are not usually planning to move to another position. They usually plan to go back to home country and not continue as another country foreign postdoc. Yeah, and altogether we had quite nice geographic variation. We have researchers coming from Asia, Africa, Europe. So that's very nice. Then David, how have things gone after you got the position? So it seems that pretty okay as you are here, but have there been any huge struggles, or would you have any hints for those coming next time, or for us?
Technicalities, I would say.
Yeah.
As you remember, something with my uploading of one file which didn't obviously succeed.
But as always, if something happens, then it's good to be active. Yeah.
So, and we solved it immediately, basically, very nicely, I think. So, no, really, it was all very streamlined. Of course, my transition, so to speak, from Göteborg to Turku was in the summer, and some delay must be accepted. When, I mean, sending emails, asking some administrative questions. It's okay, I think, if you don't get an immediate answer in the middle of July.
Yeah.
And you are from another Nordic country, so you know this, but maybe other countries, applicants from other countries, maybe have more, maybe we have to instruct them more.
But really, everything has worked out, I think, quite smoothly. And of course, I have been busy on my part seeking additional funding for the project in Sweden, but that's a different issue.
Yeah. So, and then what are kind of your main goals within this 3-year period?
First of all, to do some really hopefully high quality research and to I think extend and deepen my knowledge. I think it's a very good opportunity actually to I've always been and now I'm not flattering anyone here, but I've always been quite impressed with what you're doing here, given that Turku is I mean it's a small town in international by international measures, but since I've been working in the pet field as a clinician for more than 10 years, I was very well aware of Juhani's work and what you have been doing here in Turku. And I mean, it's obviously it leaves a few other alternatives in the Nordic countries at least. So for me, the choice was somehow natural or quite self-explanatory.
And you have a very strong clinical background.
Yeah.
So are you able to do something, because if I know right, you are a radiologist.
Yeah, I'm a radiologist.
Are you able to do something remotely in clinical part, or are you now full-time researcher?
No, I'm actually full-time because we have, and that's a good thing, I must say, with the Sahlgrenska Hospital where my base employment is, that they are, in fact, nowadays at least, very, very supportive of science and scientific work generally, and in particular, I think this project up to the highest level, actually. So I am 100% free to do research, but by necessity, I think you have to do some clinical work in parallel, because it's like
3 years a long time.
Yeah, it's a practical skill.
Yeah.
It's like playing the piano, I think, a little bit. If you don't practice, then you lose it.
Yeah.
So there will be some need, of course, to do probably some kind of remote work, because I will be busy with research also when I'm in Sweden, since we are combining 2 databases here, the Turku and the Swedish Scopis database, and there is quite a lot of work, hands-on work to be done on both sites. So, but some kind of clinical research, I think, clinical work, I think, would fit nicely also into the project.
Yeah, Juhani.
Yeah, I would like to comment about this, because we know that the clinical work takes every minute you allow to take. And there is, for example, a risk that when you are in here, then our clinicians would like to consult you on some of the magnetic resonance or CT images, which sometimes we don't have the radiologist on site. But that's a risk, because it takes so much time.
Yeah.
And if you allow it to take, it will take everything.
Yeah.
That's what we know from clinical.
They squeeze you.
Yeah. No, but I was thinking of doing this, I mean, as you said, remotely probably, and in a very controlled manner to solve some of our patient categories, which would be, and I mean, that would be then officially sanctioned by us in Sweden, obviously.
Yeah. Last question for Juhani. What would be your advices for other group leaders? How to make the kind of the description to the website? Yeah,
you need to be focused. You better not to make like a general thing, because the applicant don't understand. If that is too broad, you don't know what is actually included. Need to be, maybe you do more than one project and be focused, but not too narrow, because then if you make it too narrow, it may be not exactly fit for your applicant's profile. And of course, what happens normally that there will be interaction. I mean, nobody can submit this application without consulting the PI. You need to interact and plan it together, because then you know what is the ideal way to propose. And that makes it also successful. So I have nothing more to say about
Yeah, and then it was very important that you said that you can make several kind of descriptions. That's certainly fine, and I think that's much better than making one broad one. So then also the applicants it's much easier for applicant to think whether that would fit for me or not, when it's more focused instead of broadly providing all the possibilities. Then it's difficult to find the main thing from there. Great. So now we would have a bit of time for any questions.